Hello everyone. In this video, I mentioned that we're going to now look into forms, and we're going to look specifically at the very last way of binding data in Angular 2, and that's basically dual binding. And the only way you can really do that is with a form. So we're going to basically connect up this Teams form here. We're going to have a little icon here where we edit. Click on like an edit link or something, and it'll come down and display a form. Now, before I actually get started on this, I just want to basically address something that came to me via an email message based on what I've been delivering in these videos. Now, I had a guy come up and he said basically that my videos are of a low standard and that I should focus more on producing things like music and intros and trying to spice up the videos a little bit, right? And I sat there, I kind of laughed at this because I'm like, it's not really up to you what I deliver, what kind of content I deliver. And so basically what I'm trying to tell everybody here is that if you don't like the way I deliver my content, just go away. Seriously, I don't care to do things the way that people ask me to do them. If you love my content, great. Continue watching these videos. I believe that I deliver good content. Now, what I mean by good content, I'm not talking about trying to be like the next, Ryan Higa or iJustine or any of those famous YouTubers out there. I'm never trying to be that. That's just being stupid. That's not what I want to be. But what I'm trying to deliver to you guys is, basically some concepts of Angular 2 and other programming languages. I'm not out here to be famous. I have a full-time job. I don't necessarily need to do this. I do this because I actually like it. And I do it because it helps a lot of people out. I'm getting paid nothing to do this. I have ads on my videos that I can tell you now based on the views that I have, which isn't many. I think the highest viewed video so far is like 60 views, in this Angular suite. And I've calculated that per 6 views, I get 1 cent. So for the highest viewed video so far, I've made 10 cents. So I don't want people sitting there and saying, oh, I'm doing this just for the money or anything like that, because clearly I'm not. So if people aren't going to help me out with money and stuff like that, which is not what I'm asking for, don't expect super duper highly produced videos. I'm working 2 jobs here. I work to learn to teach you guys, and I also work a full-time role at a big company at the moment. And I'm not going to apologize for the way that the quality of my videos are. So with all that said, I'm going to move on. But lastly, just to say it one more time, if you don't like the quality of my videos, don't watch. Alright? I don't care. I'm going to do it the way I like it. And anybody who knows me knows that's actually the fact and that's the truth. So, with all that said, let's get started. So, what I want to do in this video is I want to create a little edit link here. And when I click on that link, I want a form to show up underneath here. Right? So, how are we going to go about doing that? Well, first, I started looking at Bootstrap, and Bootstrap 4 no longer supports little icons. Right? They've taken their glyph icon set completely out of Bootstrap 4. It's no longer available. So what they've recommended instead is this Font Awesome site. And this Font Awesome site has a lot of icons. So if you go here and you click on icons, you'll see, just in the latest version, they got 41 new icons. They got things like address books, badges, snowflakes, thermometers, cards, closing windows, an ID card. There's lots of different icons, and then you can see the rest of them are down here. You got batteries as if it's like on your iPhone. But the one we're going to be looking at, or I'm going to be using, I think will be this edit one here, right? So if I click on this, you'll see it's FA pencil. I think it's also called FA edit, if I recall. Anyway, So that'll be the one that we'll probably use for this particular lesson. Now, so we're going to have to grab the CSS for this. Again, I've found a CDN. I don't know why I choose CDNs. I just like them. Probably because they're more globalized. So we've got this one here. So we've got this HTTP, Max CDN, Bootstrap CDN. So it's actually part of Bootstrap. So I'm going to grab this link here, and I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to go over to my index.html. And essentially, straight underneath the previous link style sheet, which is the Bootstrap style sheet, I'm gonna create a new link. Oops, link rel style sheet href equals that particular URL, and then we're gonna. Oops, what happened there? Interesting. And we'll close it off, right? So now we've got access to our little style sheet fonts. So, next thing we want to do is we're going to add that edit link or that edit icon to the table. So let's go to our teams table, our team list, HTML. We're going to create a new column. So here I'm just going to put TH and I'm going to put at MVSP, which will just put a little space in there. I'm not sure if IE still collapses empty column cells, but I think it used to. So I'm just used to always putting in one space, the explicit space. And then down here, I'm going to create another TD, and this is where we're going to put our edit link. And understand that this is for every single team in the list of teams. There's going to be a link here. So it's an anchor tag. And at this stage, we're just going to close the anchor tag and then close that anchor tag. And then in here, to add the little editing thing, we're going to go I for italics. I'm not sure why I attach it to the I tag. They do. And then we're going to give it a class. And it's going to be FA and then FA-edit, like so. And then we can just close it off. So you don't need anything inside there. So finally I go and save this. Then I go back to my basketball stats. You'll see now we have this icon. Now it's still not great. Obviously it's very hard to see. It's not too bad when it's in contrast, but I think we can do a little bit better. I think it should be definitely white as it is now when it's on the blue. And I think it should be definitely the same blue color when it's on the white. And so on and so forth. So I'm going to address that now by just going into our CSS. So into the CSS we go. And down here what I'm going to do is I'm going to go dot table, striped, t-body, tr. Firstly. Now the first thing I want to do is I actually want to give it a new cursor. I don't like the arrow that's there. I'm going to give it a pointer. So that will give us like the little hand symbol instead of like an arrow, which kind of looks weird. And then basically for each odd row, so table, striped, t-body, tr, and of type odd, right? For each anchor tag that's inside of that, we're going to specify a color of FFF. So that's saying for each blue row, we're going to have our anchor text color be blue, which will change the color of the icon. And then we're going to do something similar for the even. So I'm just going to copy and paste and change this to even. And the color we're going to use is this color up here, which is the row color of the blue color. So it's the invert. We're inverting it essentially. So if I now go save and we go back and we let it recompile, we got an issue here. Let's refresh. Not sure what happened there, but anyway. So it looks a little better now. So we've got a full white here. We've got the blue here. We've got the white, the blue, and the white. So we can now see it a little bit. It's a little bit more clear than last time. Now, actually, as you can see at the moment, nothing happens. Alright, so we haven't actually done anything to click, but that's because we haven't built the form yet. So let's go and actually build the form before we actually tie it to this. So I'm going to stop the Angular CLI. I'm going to come in, I'm going to go ngG component, and under teams, we're going to create a team edit component, like so, and run that. And it's good to get good to get a good idea of these commands too. It saves you a lot of time when building components and stuff in Angular 2 if you can do it straight from the command line. You can always take out the bits that it adds, but it's a lot faster than typing it yourself. Even when it takes a bit to do it. Right. So that's done. We come over. I'm going to close some of these because I don't need them open. So we come up to teams. You can see we've now got a team edit section. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to actually build the table out. So what we'll use for, sorry, not the table, the form. So what we'll start with is obviously, I'm going to try and keep it close to Bootstrap. So a form tag with a name of, let's call it edit team form. Now we need the name of form items in Angular because it's how we eventually are going to use validation. Plus ngModel, which is something you're about to learn in a second, won't work unless you actually have a name on the input in question. Alright, so here I'm just going to add a H2 tag. We're going to call it edit team, just like so. And then we're going to add what's referred to as a form group. So this is all Bootstrap stuff, form group. And that's it, close that off. So this is all from Bootstrap. You can grab this all from Bootstrap if you like. I like to just go through it one by one. Grab a label. We're going to give that a class. We're going to give that a 4. We're going to call it team name. So if nobody knows what labels do, it basically points to a control. And then we're going to give it a name of team name, like so. And then we're going to create an input type equals text, because we're grabbing the name of the team. And we're going to give it a class of form control, which is a pretty standard class for the input or all different kinds of inputs in a form. We're now going to give it the name that we want, so we're going to call it team name. And we also need to specify the ID because that links to the for attribute for the label. So team name, so it's a bit of doubling up there, but that's alright. And then finally, for the moment, we're going to just specify a placeholder. And we'll put enter team name here. So I'm just going to quickly save that. And what I'm going to also do is I want this to appear underneath the table here. So let's go and match that up. So first we'll go to team edit component. And I'm going to again remove the on init because I don't want it. I don't need it at this stage. I also don't need any of this at this point. We're going to remove that as well. And we know we need an element called app team edit. So I'm going to copy that, save this file, go to the team list, HTML, and at the bottom here I'm going to create that element. So bang, we've done this all before, we know how this works. And now I'm going to go and see how it looks. So we should get a form under here now when it recompiles. I'm not running ngServe again. Started much faster that time. Very interesting. So that should I may not reboot the page. I'll have to do it myself. Still haven't worked out that issue there, but that's something I will eventually work out. When I find out, guys, I'll let you know. Alright, so refresh. And we can see now we've got a form under here. So we've got a form, it's got a team name, property, and then a big text box goes pretty much across the whole screen. I'm not going to worry too much about formatting right now. Now, what I also want to grab, I've got the team name. I also want to change the wins and losses. Winning percentage I'm not going to worry about, because in a future video I'm going to actually calculate this value after the person saves the entries here. Games behind, also the same. It'll basically compare everything else in the table and order them correctly, and then determine the games behind based on the win and loss ratio. So this is also a calculated number. So all we're going to have for this form is these three fields: the team name, the wins, and the losses. Okay? So we're going to add two more fields to this form, and we're going to have a button. So let's do that. Let's go back out of this, back in the team edit. Now we're grabbing another form group. So we're just going to copy and paste, and we're going to call this one wins. And we're going to change the type of this. In fact, I should call this wins as well. We're going to change the type here from text to number, and the reason for that is because the number of wins is always a number. I mean, that's pretty obvious. We're going to change the team name and ID to be wins. We're going to enter number of wins. So pretty straightforward stuff there. And then I'm going to copy this, and we're going to do the same for losses. So losses, right? And then I'll go in and just that, and that, and that. And so now we should, and the last thing we'll add is a button, type equals button, class equals BTN, BTN-primary, I believe. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. And it'll say submit / button. I think that will be what we need for the form. So we'll come back. And yep, there you go. We have a button that doesn't do anything. We also have this stuff. Now, that's the form. Obviously, at this point, when we click this, nothing's happening. And that's fine. We're going to address that in a minute. In this video, we're going to address it one way, and to some people it may be considered a good way, but I personally don't like the way I'm about to show it. I like to do it a different way, but for simplicity and to get an idea of how this thing binds first, I'm going to keep this design simple, but maybe in the second video I'll show you the better way to do it, because especially if you have a cancel button here, you'll understand why I don't like it the first way that I'm doing it. Okay? And I'll explain more when I get to it. So, what we need to do now is we need to link up, again, when we select the item here, we want to pass that down to this form, right? And then we want to populate the data in this form. Right? So how are we going to do this? Well, we could do it very similar to the way we did for players, right? We clicked on it, and then we kind of pass the selected player down to the component. For teams, we can do the same thing. We can click on this and we can pass the selected team down into this component, and then we can edit it. Okay? So let's go about doing that. So the first thing we need to do is we're going to go to our team edit component, and like last time, this is from the last, well, not the last video, but the video before, we're going to have an input. And we'll input like so, and then we're going to have something called selected team, and it's a type of team, which at this point we have not imported team, so let's do that. So import team from, again, we're going to go up 2 directories, and then we go to shared, teams, and then team. That's where the team object sits at the moment, and save that. So we've got the input. Now, when we go to the team list, HTML, we need to supply that input again. So we go, our attribute binding as usual, and we go selected team equals, and we've seen all this before, selected team, like so. So save that, and then we go to the component. We're going to, we have already exposed a selected team, And in fact, we've also got a selected team method, which is already seeing that value. This I was supposed to take out from the previous time that I did this. Obviously, I revert my changes, but I must have missed this. I should always use. This is a perfect time to use Git actually, and I might actually start breaking up my videos into different Git features so that you guys can follow along. So before I do the next video, I'm actually going to do that. I'm gonna basically go back through all my videos and build versions of the site or the application, and I'm going to use Git to have different versions, and then obviously a master, which will be the current state of the application. I think I might do that because it's getting to a point now I'm kind of leaving things straight behind. But anyway, we're supposed to have a selected team property, which I've already exposed here, and then I had this method which I wanted to select the team. And it's very similar. I'm not too concerned about leaving this behind because you know how to somewhat do this from the players video. So now we're going to call this select team in order to get the selected team. So going back to the team list, I'm not going to do it on the table row this time like I did for players. But what we're going to do it on, we're actually going to do it on the anchor tag because we want to have it happen when we click on that edit link. So we're going to bind the click here as usual equals select team, and then we're passing in the team. So that now should pass through the selected team, right? So we're going to save that. We're going to come back over and we click on this, and again, nothing's happening yet. We can't see any changes. Right, we're like, oh, yeah, what did we just do? Well, the reason why we're not seeing any changes is now we've got to actually bind the information to this form, right? We haven't done that yet. So how do we go about doing this? Well, I'm about to show you. So going back to the team edit component, the first thing we're going to add, just to be safe, because remember I got caught up last time with this, is we're going to add the ngIf, equals, and then remember we had to put the selected team. So if this was ever null or, you know, it didn't have a value, it would never show up, right? Because at the moment, if I don't put this in, right, and I just leave it run, this is always going to be available even when I haven't clicked on anything. So you'll see it when it refreshes. If it refreshes, not better refresh. So, but it's always there, right? So remember we had to add this in. Like so. And if we go back and we watch it, you'll see now it's missing. But now we click on it and look what happens. The form comes up, right? Because we've clicked on something. Because technically the selected team is now created. It's just not bound to these controls, or the values are not bound to the controls. So let's do that now. So how do we do this? Well, we can't use attribute. We can use attribute rounding, and I can show you that you can actually do that. So if I go value like this equals selected team dot team name, like so, and save, this will in fact work. So if I pick Cleveland, in fact, maybe it doesn't work. I thought it did work. Let's have a look at what we've done here. In fact, it's not failing. It's just not. Oh, sorry. I was trying to click the row. Of course, we click on this item. You see the names being edited here, right? And we can go. We edit it, and you know nothing's reflected up the top here, which is great. However, this is actually technically not binding to anything either. It's just staying within the value that's within the component, right? Because now all we're saying is we can edit this, but what the default value is going to be is the name of the team. But we're never actually sending anything back, right? So whenever we do this, right, we're not actually technically changing the name of the player that we pass through. So we can submit this, and well, whatever, right? And this will never, ever, 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 ever change. In fact, I'm going to show you how that works. So for this one, I'm going to leave the attribute like this. For the wins and losses, right, I'm going to use what's referred to as dual binding. So how do we do that? Well, the syntax is a little bit weird, but it'll make sense when I tell you what it means in a minute. So the first thing we do is we make it look like an attribute binding, but we also make it look like it's binding to an event, right? And then we put the name, the selected team dot number of wins, right? And then this is actually bound to. Oh, sorry. Wait a second. What am I doing? Now, inside of here, we call something called ngModel, like that, right? And then that is equal to that, right? So this new ngModel attribute is basically how we bind the property of basically the property of a model, so to speak, which in this case happens to be the selected team, which is a team object. We're binding to the number of wins property on that particular team, right? Now, when we add the square brackets, we're saying whatever it is before we get to this form, is if this is 3, default the value to 3. However, when we have the curly braces, we're saying, and whatever it's changed to, fire a key event that specifies the changed value of this property. So what ends up happening is whenever I change the value of this input, it changes the value of the property here. And I'm just going to show you that right now. So if I save and I come back and I let it refresh. So if I pick Cleveland, again I need to click this thing over here. Alright, if I change this, we don't really see much different other than the field changes, right? However, if we come down to the wins and we change this to 13, right? Did you notice something changed as well? It wasn't just the field, but in fact, the row up here has also changed. And it's changed instantly. So as I type it, if I change it to 20, look at the wins. Change it to 20, 22, 2, 45. So this is referred to as dual binding because whatever the value of the model was coming in was set to here, but whenever I change it, it changes the value of the model, which, because of interpolation up here, is also changing the value of this particular column as well. Right? And this is where I say it's probably not ideal because technically, under normal circumstances, when you have an edit form, you don't really want anything reflected up here until you submit the form, right? But it really comes down to how you do your design. Some people like this. They like the fact that you type something in like this and it reflects the UI up here instantly. And in some situations that makes sense. I think a shopping cart is a good one. When you do something in the orders form, it should go and update the shopping cart instantly. But in something like this, I think that this is more of like we need to commit the changes first, and especially for something like this here, where we need to know what the wins and losses are going to be before we can determine the percentage. So ideally, we don't want to have it bound like this. Now, I'm not going to demonstrate how to change that in this video, but I'll show you in a future video how to get around this and still have the same binding mechanism in place. Okay? So lastly, I'm going to bind to the losses. And I'll go and update the ngModel for this as well, because you can see it never changed the name up there. You might say, but if we, just make it an attribute, then it won't change up here. Yeah, but it also won't change the model at all either from the inside. So let's add the ngModel to the other two fields. So just here, I'm going to change this to number of losses. Like so, and then here we're going to put the ngModel again because we just need to change from value to that. right? So this is kind of like it's handling the attribute input, right, or the value input, but it's also handling the key event that changes when it changes the value of the text field. It's like a on key or on key change or something like that. I can't remember the name of it in HTML is, but it's basically handling an event handler as well as being the input attribute for the value, if that makes any sense. That's basically why they have the square and the circle brackets, because it's actually technically performing both. Okay, so now that I've done all three, I can come back, and if I click on Cleveland now, again, click on this over here, and I change this to, I don't know, who have we not got up there, Miami Heat, because I'm a Miami Heat fan, even though they're going very poorly at the moment. They're like 5-12, right? So this is all changed up here instantly. Win percentage hasn't changed, but we're going to deal with that in another video. Same as the games behind, because technically this should be at the bottom now. But anyway, we'll worry about that after the fact. I click submit. At the moment, nothing's happening. So let's deal with that. So how are we going to actually close this form? Right? And the easiest way at the moment is that if nothing is technically selected or specified as selected here, this will disappear instantly. So, and again, this is not the ideal way to do it. This is just a way, and it's a way a lot of applications do this. You know, again, it comes down to how you want to design your application. I think for an edit form, this is not the best way to do it, but new form, it's okay, because a new form, you're adding new items, so you expect it to basically populate immediately or close to immediately. But with editing items, you probably should be waiting after you've committed the changes for the changes to happen. Anyway, I'm going to handle the submit button now. So what we want to have happen is that when I click this, it closes this form up. Alright, because there's no need to do any other kind of committing of these model properties here, as they happen dynamically as I type in. You know, so we're not going to worry too much about handling submission to anything. Validation, I'm going to look at in another video, but we should really be technically validating these things, because at the moment I can empty this out and I can submit without any issues. But keeping it simple, I'm just going to close this form. So how do I do that? Well, the easiest way is to do this. You come in and we've got the submit form, and we're going to bind to a click event on this. So click equals, and we'll just say save, save team, like that. Alright, so we're going to create a method on our component called save team. So we'll go to team edit component, and we're going to create a function here, save team, like so. And the easiest way to get rid of the form is to go selected team equals null. And in fact, it's this dot selected team. Alright, save. Alright, so now I come in, we've got Cleveland. I'm going to edit Cleveland. I'm going to change it to the Miami Heat. I'm going to set it to, again, the 5 wins, 12 losses. Click submit, and the form disappears, and we've got the Miami Heat up here with, the 5 wins, 12 losses, percentage is wrong. And the other issue we have, which I'm going to address in another video as well, is that when I first click here, it doesn't work anymore. Right? But when I click here, it works, and then when I go back to click, it works again. So I'm going to address that in the next video, but this is just to give you an idea of how you can bind to forms by selected data. I just wanted to get the information from the table. We could have just created a whole brand new form, like a new form, and then added it in. And in fact, in maybe a future lesson, we'll focus on having an add teams or an add players section. But for now, I just want to start with that. And so I think in the next video, what we'll do is we'll cover, basically, we might cover validation on the forms. Though I'd like to go through more form fields and show you how to bind to the different types of form fields. So in fact, I'm going to do that in the next video. I'm going to start a whole new section of the application where you can see me entering different types of data into different types of fields, and we'll go from there. So thank you everybody for listening. And once again, if you don't like the quality of my videos, don't watch. I really don't care if you don't like it. I just want to help people out who care to listen. Other than that, I don't give a stuff what you think. So anyway, I'm going to go. I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye for now.